Hi, today we're going to be making some earrings out of scraps of fabric. They're super easy to make and they just use up scraps you've got lying around at home. They don't have to be multicolored like these. They can be all out of one piece of fabric or out of a t-shirt like these ones. So you'll have fun making these. The main thing that you'll need are the the hoops, the round bits, but otherwise you've probably got everything that you need to make these at home. Here's what you'll need to make your scrap earrings: a pile of assorted scraps of fabric, at least 10 centimeters long and up to about a centimeter wide. So whenever I'm cutting out anything, I always cut the scraps into these strips and put them away in a box so that I've just got a box full of all these lengths of different colored bits of fabric in different widths and at least 10 centimeters wide. I've also cut up some scraps of t-shirt fabric today, so I thought we could make some out of these scraps as well. You'll need a needle with some embroidery thread just to stitch your earring scraps onto the fixing. You'll need some thread trimming snips. You'll need some sharp scissors, probably to cut up your pile of fabric scraps into strips. You need some cotton tape. This one is cotton tape. It's probably wider than a centimeter. It's probably a little bit too wide, but we'll fold the edges in. And this piece is about a centimeter wide, and it is the edge of a tea towel. So one edge is finished and one edge is raw, but we're going to fold it in, so that will be able to be used. And the earring fixings that you need are a circular shape or a hoop shape. So any size, as long as it's a circle, is going to work for these earrings. Now we're going to measure how much tape we need by holding on to our earring fixing and then just putting the tape around the full length of the earring hoop, and then that's how much we need for the silver one. So I'm going to cut that, and then I'm going to cut a second one, and then for the smaller one I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm just going to work out it's about that long, and then I'm going to cut that, and then I'm going to cut a second one. So we've got two that are, I'm going to make them the right length. They're a little bit off. So we've got two for the black hoops, which are a bit smaller, and two pieces for the silver hoops. So I'm going to lie them on my mat about maybe 10 centimeters apart. And then what I'm going to do is just, if the fabric is printed, I'm going to put the printed side face down, and I'm just going to lay that fabric across my tape, with the tape approximately in the middle of the length of fabric. You can try and do it so that if you're using a range of different scraps like what I've got here, you can try and do it so that if you can find the same fabric, you can lay that down so that you're using the same. Say if I put this blue check one on that one, and then I'll find another piece of the blue check. This one is a bit too big, put that one on there, so I'll put that blue check one on there, and then maybe this yellow one, I'll put a bit of yellow on there as well. Just make sure if it's got a right or a wrong side, that you're putting the right side down. That's a bit of blue polka dot, and then you're going to just keep going until you've got quite a thick layer of these fabric strips on your cotton tape. So I've got my strips of fabric laid onto my cotton tape. So if I flip it over, you can see the cotton tape is here. It's roughly in the middle of the strips of fabric. And then I'm going to turn it over, and there should be just a couple of 2 or 3 mil of the tape at each end. And then you're going to sew a straight line, probably twice, up and down that cotton tape. Do it with the strips side up, and I've done it with the t-shirt fabric as well. When if you're using a mixture of different colored scraps, always put one scrap on one piece of cotton tape and then put one on the next, so you've got the same amount of strips on each piece of tape. So now I'm just going to sew. You can hand sew if you want to, but I'm going to just use the machine to sew up and down on each piece. Once you finish the sewing, you can check to see if you've got enough strips on there by folding it in half, and then you just sort of ease it around as if it was going around the hoop of the earring. And you can see that there's a few gaps here. It would be much better if there was more strips on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it out again, and then I'm just going to sew on a few more strips. And because I'm doing it on one, I'm going to do it on the other one. So you fold it so that the tape side is up, because that's what you're going to sew onto your earring fixing. And then you can see here too, there's a big gap right here. This one's on the end, all the strips moved when I was sewing it. So I'm going to put some more here, and probably not in the middle, but on the ends I'm going to put some more. So open it back out and then just put a few more strips on. Okay, that's done. And if I fold it, you can see that it looks fuller. It looks a bit better with a couple of extra strips added. So now we're going to hand stitch these onto our hoops. Okay, I've done the same thing with the t-shirt scrap, just sewed it on, and then sort of looks okay. We'll see what happens when we stitch it onto the actual earring fixing. So now I'm just going to sew these on. It's a little bit tricky to get started, but once you're started, it should be okay. I finished sewing around here once, but I'm going to sew around again now, just so that I make sure that these ends are nice and tightly sewn onto the earring fixing. I've done this other one, you can see what I mean here, just so that the ends are nicely firm. Okay, there's our finished earrings. Now the last thing to do is to just give them a trim. You'll see there's little bits of thread and stuff like that hanging off, so you can give them a trim. And then if you hold up your earrings and you see any long bits poking out, you can trim them off. You can also, if you don't like it being really flat, you can just cut them so that they're a bit pointier. Just have a look, have a play around, see what you think. Make them pointier, make them thinner. You can cut, that blue and white one's pretty thick. Sort of cut down, just cut down to the end. And then that's just fluffed it up a little bit. But yeah, that's the two scrappy ones, the two t-shirt scraps. Yeah.